think,
Sounds like we're
in
right
spite of what Mrs. Green said at the meeting about PFAS, that there's going to be some controversy about that. Yeah. I know they will. Because they're linking them up with a number of companies. Okay. Everybody ready?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the school committee meeting of October 5th, 2021. Before we approve the agenda, I will remind you the first pitch is at 8 o'clock. And so we will not be going beyond that. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
sir.
Okay, comments from the public? Okay, seeing none. We'll move on to Superintendent's Report.
Okay, good evening. I'll start with electric bikes. As of last Monday, we have established some new rules about having electric bikes on our campus. Message did go out to all parents and staff, and students are aware. They've been told both in homerooms, but also in class assemblies. And just to give a little overview, according to Massachusetts law, persons operating motorized bicycles must be 16 years or older, and they must have a valid driver's license or permit. Students who fit this criteria can register their bikes at the high school and park them on campus. For anyone else, they are not allowed to have their bikes on campus. All bikes, electric or otherwise, are to be walked on school campus at all times. So we really appreciate that the students and families have really taken these appropriate steps to be sure that this new rule is being followed and our students and staff are safe.
Beth, do you want to say
Yes.
anything about helmets?
Helmets are expected for any child any child over 13 years old. I believe that is a requirement by law, and so we do expect children to be wearing a helmet over 13, and we do expect that, so it's an expectation that we have.
Any questions from the committee on that?
Nope.
Okay.
The MASC, Massachusetts Association of School Committees, and the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents has a joint conference that is coming up in early November, from the 3rd of November to the 6th of November. It is a very nice event that allows for lots of information around school committee goings-on in the state, and an opportunity for some professional learning for both school committee members and superintendents, both together and separately. This conference has an in-person attendance capability, and it will be held at the Cape Cod Resort and Conference Center in Hyannis. But anyone who signed up after August 13th, which I found out today as I looked, will be automatically put on a wait list for the in-person attendance. I don't know if things will change. My guess is that we will be hearing soon whether or not they're opening more in-person attendance spaces. The August 13th was quite a while ago, and so my guess is that they're just waiting to see if there are some opportunities, or maybe they're making a change with regard to how they can invite more people in person. But the conference is also virtual, if you would like a virtual option. So in your packet, you did receive a conference schedule, which I pulled from the MASC website. So that will give you kind of an inside view to what the sessions, the keynote speakers, and the other meetings might be, and you'll get a feel for what the offerings are. So again, some are for school committee only, some are geared towards superintendents, but there are many that are together. And having attended last year, I felt it to be 2 years ago, I felt it to be a great opportunity. Also, Pauline Proch went with me, and Logan O'Connor. And so I invite all of you. We hope that you will attend. If you plan to attend, or you think you will, please let me know as soon as possible so that we can get registered. And let me know also if you are interested in attending in person or virtually. So you can do that via email, or let me know today.
Can I just make a comment through the chair? I'm wondering, I don't know if we are all able to go even for a day or two, but if we end up doing virtual, could I make a recommendation that perhaps we try to be together for the virtual, and then maybe do something that evening, because the beauty of this event is that you're going to meetings, but it's also, it's camaraderie, and it just gives you an opportunity to be with each other, not necessarily in a meeting. So that's what I've always got from that. I just think it's a great opportunity. So if we end up virtual, perhaps we can do something on the end of one of those evenings.
That would be nice.
Okay.
Great idea.
And finally, enrollment, which you will see in your packet. This month's enrollment is slightly lower than last month's, with 1,676 students, so 3 fewer than last month. The elementary school saw a shift, and their numbers are slightly lower, whereas the high school saw some growth in numbers. So, but we're still pretty even, from 1676 this month to 1679 from last month. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
How does it compare to, let's say, 2019 or 2018?
So 2019, I believe we ended somewhere around 660. So we are not making massive changes. They are around the same. We ended last year in June at 1664. So we're not seeing monstrous leaps in growth or declines. But we're only in October, so you never know.
Okay. Any questions, anybody on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, presentations and discussions of issues of interest to the committee. The SROs.
That's okay. For those of you that don't know me, I'm going to show everyone here. My name is Cassie Thompson. I'm your school resource officer. I have been your school resource officer since 2015. This year I am Sans a partner. He's still with us, but not as the SRO position. So still works here, don't worry. But not as the SRO position. So he's back on patrol, and hopefully we'll see him back in school soon. I don't know. That's not my area of expertise, if you will. So one correction, Dr. Hallett. Helmets are required for kids under the age of 16.
Not under.
Under the age of 16 are required, and if they ride an electric bike, regardless of your age, you must wear a helmet. So you
I got
could be
them confused.
55 and have to wear a helmet on an electric bike.
Thank
So
you.
you're
Sorry
welcome.
about that.
No, that's okay. And the community school does have helmets, so if kids need them. Community school has them. I usually have a take of them too. The sheriff will donate them, so it's nice for them to do. So, sorry, go ahead. So for those of you that haven't been here before for this presentation, this will be new. But we work here 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. I would say longer sometimes much longer. We interact with students at drop-off as much as possible. We assist with traffic. That's probably my favorite. We do school check-ins. I try to get into every front office or at least see somebody in each building each morning. I teach an introduction to criminal justice class in the high school for juniors and seniors as an elective. And we do building and grounds walkthrough, so we'll check in with Diane, Demo, Chip, Barry, whatever they need. Classroom drop-ins if the time allows for it. Anytime staff need a consult or any information regarding a student or any help with the student issues, I'm available. And then club crossing, which I don't have to do this year because I'm one person, but I do go down to the lower schools as much as I can and help with the traffic and the pickup down there and the stellar driving. So, I love a good selfie with some friends, so that was the beginning of the school year. NES, what doesn't brain you with like some kindergartners, right? Some preschool kids. So. A typical day, there is no typical day as we say, but in addition we'll do training for lockdowns for staff. So actually on Thursday we have all the new staff, the district's new staff getting trained in lockdown procedures. Any in-person parent meetings, any in-person student meetings, assist DCF with any open cases they have, any juvenile court cases. If we have a student in our district that has the unfortunate, chance to get charged with a crime, I'm gonna most likely be the one charging them, unfortunately. So I'll deal with all that paperwork in the court and be their liaison. So that part, 9 times out of 10 doesn't happen, but unfortunately it does every once in a while. If there is an incident out of school hours, like the night shift deals with an incident, they'll let me know. And if they have to file charges against a student or even like write a student a ticket, they tend to let me know just so I can at least be aware of it. So if a student comes to me and is like, hey, I got this ticket, what do I do? I at least know a little bit about it. But as most people know, every day is different and usually nothing is ever typical. First day of school, I'd throw my own kid in there. No, thanks. So anything extra? So Halloween this year, we actually get to have Halloween again, which I'm super excited about. The sheriff gracefully ordered us some safety bags for pre-K through 5th grade. So once those get here, hopefully I can distribute them as soon as possible to pre-K through 5th grade. In the spring, we try to do 4th grade bike safety. Young's Bike Shop always helps out with that. They bring literally a truck full of bikes and helmets, so no kid has to not do it. CPS health classes last year, we did kind of internet safety with them, and I taught, I think, 18 classes in like a 2-week span to make sure that every child in CPS, grades 6 through 8, had this same exact thing. It was a little more geared age appropriate, but they had pretty much the same exact information. The facilities and grounds staff gets crossing guard training with us, which is great, so that way they know what to do. They know how to respond if someone doesn't stop for them, which we already had twice this year. And we've been able to identify those people, and they've gotten, I've called and spoken with them, and appropriate tickets were issued if necessary. I check the cameras that we have around the district every month to see which ones are not working, and I notify Diane so that she's aware of it, because, we're the ones that probably use it the most besides, the principals of each building. And then besides the lockdown for the staff here at this building, I also do the private school lockdown consults. So I was there last week, and I'll be there next week with the new school and so on and so forth. So pretty much jack of all trades, whatever the school staff need me for, I'm available. And if it's not my cup of tea, I'll try to find someone who does it for them. So, any questions?
Marky?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
So if you have, for example, someone in elementary school who goes through that emergency door,
Yep.
what is the protocol for that?
Like if you go out the door, or you
No, if a child opens the door
Okay.
and he lets 2 of his friends through that door, what's the protocol on that?
So it depends on where I am or what's happening or if someone sees it, right? So we ask kids, we tell like the high school if they let kids in the high school.
No, I'm talking about NES.
NES.
Yeah.
So
So if they have some runners in that school,
Oh, so
who
if the
go through
kid
door?
leaves, if you're taking if the child
Yes.
leaves. So I let the staff deal with it
Mhm.
unless they tend to, unless it's a safety issue. So if a student goes into the public roadway, or pretty much if they're kind of off school property, or if they were to go like into the parking lot and the staff notifies me, I will come and assist in any way I can to make sure that child stays safe. So if a child like runs out, let's say, and goes across like Bacchus Lane.
No, they're just running onto the playground.
Oh, then-
They're just going out through the door. But
Yeah,
they-
then that's,
during class, when the teacher's like this and the kid's like that.
yeah, so if that's a staff, that's a school
Okay.
issue, and if they need my assistance, I can come and at least be another set of eyes.
All right, thank you.
Esmeralda?
No questions.
Laura?
I have one question, if I may. So Cassie, where are you based in terms of school? Like, where's your sort of home base?
I have an office at CPS.
Mhm.
I don't like to spend a lot of time in there. I like to get as many steps in, if you will, as possible.
Mhm.
So, this week I spent some more time in there. I had some reports I had to get done. I probably spent the most I've spent in the past 2 years actually in my office. But I try to be as all over as possible. I mean, I think you could probably ask staff. You'll see mostly in the morning I'm down at the lower schools. The little kids tend to have blinders on when it comes to traffic, and that makes me nervous, like most people. But then, once I teach a class mid-morning here at the high school, I'll be around here in the morning, be bopping around, and then at the end of the day, I go back down to the lower schools and check in there. So I have an office at CPS, but I think I'm based pretty much everywhere. When there's 2 of us, Keith would tend to take the lower schools a lot, and I would tend to stay up here a little bit more. We were interchangeable, but that's just how it kind of worked out for the 2 of us. But now that there's only one again, I'm pretty much wherever I need to be. So,
Thank you.
Ollie?
Yeah, thank you. A couple of questions. The
Sure.
helmets you were talking about for the electric bikes,
Yep.
are they bike helmets or are they motorcycle helmets?
bike helmet,
Bike
a
helmet.
bike helmet, yeah.
That's sufficient,
Yep.
okay. And then, with the bike safety and everything, do you have access to like reflectors that you can give out to kids for their backpacks and their jackets?
Yeah, so actually last year we gave out reflective like bracelets that they could either put on their Velcro-y ones, so they could put on their backpacks, their ankles, their wrists. So we do have some of that available.
Great,
And we probably could get it ordered if we needed to.
yeah.
So, and we talk about that. We talk about always having a light on. And, we talk about the hand signals, even though they're not gonna use them. But that kind of stuff, that we have to stop at stop signs on the bike path. So we just have to reiterate it over and over and over again and hope it sticks someday.
Yeah. Do you also check in with the kids who are walking to and from school?
Not as much, to be honest with you, because we just do the specific bike safety. I do have literature that I can get out to the schools if they want to, get it out to families, if you will. It's
Right.
called Safe Routes to School. They actually offer a lot of literature in regards to like appropriate pedestrian walking to school, biking, even like appropriate car drop-off, which I think is
Yeah.
interesting. So I think every school has their own definition of appropriate car drop-off. So, but I do have that available that I can hopefully, if schools are interested, get it out to them, pass it on to
Just with
families.
it getting dark so early and I've seen too many
Yeah,
children
now it is.
crossing over. and
Absolutely.
They have dark clothes on and there's not a reflector on them.
Yep, and then we actually, I know we have the crosswalk signs, the sheriff has 3 or 4 more on order. So some of our ones that are a little bit more dilapidated, I'll get more new ones of those. We try to change those out every year as well, at least highlight for our crossing guards and the kids to pay a little bit more attention, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Catherine?
I just wanted to ask, as a student, I'm kind of curious, like, how does the staff get trained for a lockdown?
So
Like-
we hold a training, generally once a year. It doesn't, the training, the information doesn't change, it's the same. So the new staff will be trained on Thursday, the new district staff. So anyone that's brand new to the district will get trained on Thursday. And it's called Run, Hide, Fight. It's, Homeland Security's based, operation, if you will. And so we go through that, we talk about ways that they can barricade their classrooms, if they're not in their classroom, if they're in their office, so on and so forth. And best practices, if you will, but again, it comes down to, in that moment, the teacher's decision of what's best for them and their students.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Cassie, do you speak to the police down at the station regarding events that happened on the weekend?
I'll check the call log, so, every time an officer calls in over the radio, it's logged into the computer system. And on Mondays, if time allows, first thing in the morning, I'll go through the whole weekend from 3 o'clock on Friday when I leave until 7 a.m. on Monday, and go through the whole log and look to see if anything popped up. If there was a major event, I usually get an email about it. If there's a major event, I usually get an email about it, and the officer, depending on the circumstance, they might even call me like the next day and say, hey, just a heads up, there was X, Y, and Z happened. So, but otherwise, if they don't call me, I do have access to that information once I'm back at work.
And does Chief Pittman have an extra vehicle that they could park out in front? Because that seems to have a slowdown effect on people going down Surfside Road.
Oh, like, what do you mean, during like the
A
morning?
sleeping policeman of sorts.
During, like, at all times of the day, or?
Well, no, at the times when the kids are being let out or the
So we
teens
do
are
have,
coming.
we do have school zones, so they do sit on Surfside, Road from 7:20 until 7:50, or 8 o'clock in the morning, and then from 2:20 until 2:50 in the afternoon. There's one on Surfside, there's one on First Way, and then there's Club Crossing in the afternoon for those timeframes.
Okay,
So,
so we have live policemen.
yeah, and I know that, on Surfside in the morning, I'm sure parents can attest, it's bumper to bumper. There's no going fast on Surfside in the morning, so I don't really know what the afternoon looks like, but, there's no going fast to Surfside in the morning, so.
They're not supposed to.
They're not, no, and they should really go in 20, right? They have been pulling people over though, and then so they pulled some students over for not driving safe either, over near Club Crossing, so, which is totally what we want and therefore, so kids can learn, make mistakes, learn and grow from it.
Excuse me, through the chair. One question, so you get done on Friday at 3 o'clock?
Yes,
So there's no police presence on the property from 3 o'clock Friday to 7 o'clock Monday morning?
not anyone designated to the school.
Okay. And secondly, if they're pulling people over speeding, are they also pulling kids over who are not wearing helmets?
Probably not, to be honest with you, I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very
All
much,
set?
Cassie.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mandy, advanced placement.
There you go, there.
Good evening.
Hi, Mandy.
Hi, and thank you very much for inviting the high school to present information about our advanced placement courses and our student progress. As an administrator at the high school level, I always find that it's a pleasure to be able to talk about our students and what they're doing and the progress that they're making, and especially when it comes to their coursework and the classes. I personally found it amusing that I would be talking about advanced placement because those were not classes that I took in high school. So I tell these kids that they're all a lot smarter than I was. Go ahead. So I thought that you would find it interesting if we started with the number of students who were taking the exams. We had 119 students who took AP exams last year. 7 of those students were 10th grade students and they took 7 exams. 62 were 11th grade. They took 113 exams. 50 students were seniors and they took 101 exams. So 71 students took 2 or more exams. One of the things that the AP College Board gives you is the information on the breakdown for average score. And you can see on the presentation here that our students ranged between 3.3 and 2.2. Total number of exams taken was 221. The average score for our students was 2.3, and the percent score of 3 or higher was 35 of our students. And it said 3 or higher because there are some schools that accept 3s for college credit. Most schools will accept 4 or 5, and that's also somewhat controversial now because some schools do not accept AP exams at all anymore. So the other information that I thought was really interesting is the AP Scholar criteria. And I won't read all of this to you, but it's the different awards. So there's an AP Scholar with Honors, and AP Scholar with Distinction. And that just gives the criteria. And so for our students last year, we had 9 students of the 119 who received AP Scholar designation, 4 that received AP Scholar with Honors, and 2 with AP Scholar with Distinction. What I found interesting, and I had to read this 2 or 3 times to make sure I could wrap my head around on how they determine that, is that it's based on a couple of different things, and the criteria is listed there. It's partly the average of the scores, but it's also that they scored a 3 or higher on at least 3 exams. Not just in one year, but accumulation of tests that they've taken. So that could start sophomore year, junior year, and senior year, so all combined, if they took a 3 or higher on 3 or more exams. This is just a breakdown for the courses that we teach at the AP level. So we have biology, calculus AB, chemistry, English language, English literature, environmental science, statistics, and U.S. history were all in-person classes last year. But we do also allow students to take AP courses through our virtual high school program. And last year we had students who took psychology and U.S. government. And I find it interesting to see how many score of 5 or 4 are earned from our students, because if colleges are going to take it, it's most likely that those are the courses, or those are the scores that they will take. I think that our students, I think overall they fared fairly well as far as the global, if you look at the global mean score. This, I believe, was a little bit of a low year, and if you talk to our AP teachers, they will tell you that it was a little bit low. But we also have to take into consideration that in 2020, the AP exam was entirely different. You know, some students did not have that experience of taking the exam the year before. Then this year, it was back to normal, but our school year wasn't normal. And AP teachers felt like that they were very much up against, you know, meeting the criteria and, you know, teaching the curriculum so that their students were ready for the exam. Overall, I think our students fared fairly well, all things considered, with the kind of year that we had. And the breakdown of the demographics of the 119 students, we had 7 multilingual students, 9 students with disabilities, 46 were male, 73 female. And then the AP College Board actually broke it down a little bit more by grade, and so you can see those statistics there. A 5-year summary. This is one of the things that I really like about the AP College Board, is that they will give you reports so that you can see over time what it has looked like for our students. And if you go to the next slide, it's actually easier to read. So over since 2017, and this is students that scored a 3 or higher, so a 3, a 4, or a 5. They've been fairly consistent until this past year, and you can see that there was a dip last year. This next slide is not in your packet. I apologize. I added this because I thought you might like to see our current students and the classes that we are teaching at the AP level this year. This is the total number of students in each of those classes. So this year we have 166 total students. Now that's an accumulation. So some students are taking 2 AP classes, some are taking 3, and that's the total. So we'll have 166 AP exams this year. I'd like to say that I really appreciate the work that our teachers did, because I know that in a normal year teaching AP is rigorous. There's quite a few demands by the AP College Board, but I also think that a lot of our students place a lot of demands on themselves, so our teachers work really hard to keep up with that. And in a COVID year, and a year and a half of COVID, particularly when you're talking about the AP, I think that our teachers did outstanding, and I think they worked really hard to maintain that level, that high expectation, and the level of rigor that's expected by the AP College Board. And I think our students are to be commended. I personally, I was not a student who took AP classes, and so I'm just putting that as a disclaimer. My personal philosophy about taking AP classes is that it's not about scoring the 4 or the 5, it's about the rigor. And for those students who plan to go on to college or post-secondary institutions, it's a great way for them to prepare for that. And that's it, unless you have
Matthew?
questions.
Yes, through the chair, I have a question. Are there any, and I commend all the teachers who, I wasn't in an AP class either, just so we're clear.
We were probably
But-
in the same kind of classes,
Yeah,
too.
well, I'm a little bit younger than you, or older than you. Is there any online classes offered to students that take college credit?
Yes, sir.
Go-
Yes, sir. We also have dual enrollment.
Mhm.
Last year, we partnered with LaSalle University, and we
Mhm.
offered courses through LaSalle University also. We have not heard about that yet with LaSalle, but we anticipate that we very well may hear about that. Last year, it was grant funded, and I would suspect that if their grant comes through again this year, that they will be reaching out to us. We partner with Cape Cod Community College
my
for our
next
dual
question.
enrollment courses.
Yep, okay.
I just talked with our department leader for guidance, and we have 60-plus students that are enrolled for dual enrollment for second semester this year.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine?
I just wanted to comment that I took the LaSalle dual enrollment last
Mhm.
year, and it was a really good program. I really enjoyed it. I took a business class, and it was really good interacting with my teacher. She was a great teacher, and I encourage students to take dual enrollment. And I'm also going to take the Cape Cod Community College in the second semester too.
You should
Thank
put
you,
that in-
Catherine. That's a great testament. The other thing that I really liked about LaSalle is that they offered mentors for students, and they were student mentors, but at the college level. Were you able to use one of,
I
or did
never
you
re-
need to?
Yeah, I didn't need to interact with, but
But they did offer that for students, and I think that we had students that took some of those classes that might not typically take a college course, and because they wanted to try it out and try something different. And I heard some really good things about the classes that were that the students took last year.
Esmeralda?
No questions.
Laura?
No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have one
Caller.
question. In the past, when we've had the presentation, we've often brought up just the diversity of the students who are taking the AP classes. And I know last year was a separate year, so it's not something that I think we can focus too much on. But I'm curious, we've talked about outreach, we've talked about having more students having the opportunity, or at least being coached to take an AP class. So I'm just wondering what your intent is in outreaching to students, say, for next year.
So I knew you would ask this.
I know you did.
So I was prepared. So there's a couple of things that we've talked about, and I know you and I have had conversations about this before. We firmly believe that having parent nights, and I think like a curriculum night would be good, because I believe that one of the things with our student population is I'm not sure that our parent necessarily understand the benefit of taking AP courses or even dual enrollment courses, and I think that it would be to us to help educate them as to why they should encourage their children to take those courses. So that's one thing. I took a look at the number of students that we have taken AP courses this year, and you'll be happy to know that the percent of our multilingual students and our special needs population is actually higher than it was last year. I was going to give you that information, but I knew that I wasn't 100% accurate because I didn't get to check with our data guru, Ms. Johnson. But just at a quick look for myself, I'm pretty sure that the numbers are higher than they were this past year, which I feel pretty good about, because I think that that's good, that maybe the message is getting out, and because I know our teachers are talking more. One of the things that we did differently this past year that we haven't done, at least in a while here at Nantucket High School, is we included teacher recommendation for course whenever students were selecting their courses. And not as a way to eliminate students from taking upper level courses, but as a way to open up conversations between teachers and students, so that teachers could start talking to students and say, I'm going to recommend you for this class, here's why I think you should take it.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Mandy.
What
Thank you,
about the cost, Mandy? of
For the AP exam.
Yeah.
There is a cost, I believe, I don't quote me on this exact number, I think it's $90 per test. There are waivers for students that need that are economically disadvantaged and might need some support. One of the things that we need from our parents is that we need to know which parents need that waiver. So if we have any parents that might be viewing in on our meeting, if they let us know if they have students who are taking AP exams, because if you have a child who's taken 3 or 4 exams, that gets expensive. And I know last year we had at least one student who took more than 3, so that can be expensive. So we can help with that cost. The state offers some waivers, and AP College Board also offers waivers.
Any other questions?
No,
Thank you, Mandy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Homeschooling report.
Hi there. So I just have 2 slides here just so that you can see the data of our homeschool children in 2 different ways. The first one is by grade. So you can see where we have had students or parents who have requested to homeschool their children. There's a star by this year because there are still 3 applications that are in process. And then the second slide is homeschool children in NPS by year. And you can see last year was kind of an anomaly with a lot more parents choosing to homeschool their children. And just, we don't have, parents are not required to give us any kind of demographic information when they request. But I can tell you of this year's 7 students, 3 of them are from the same family. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of homeschool. And you can see I have 4 years here.
Rocky?
No questions, sir.
Catherine?
Nothing.
Do we check the curriculums that they're supposed to be teaching by?
Yes. that's your policy, and when someone indicates that they are interested in doing that, I actually send them a copy of the school committee policy and make sure that all those elements are included. Some families choose to use a school that has a curriculum, and they just give us the link to the curriculum, so we just check what's available on that website.
Actually, I do have one question,
Sure.
if I may, through the chair. Are these children allowed to participate in specials if they want to?
They're not allowed to participate in special classes. They can't be here during the school day, but they can participate in extracurriculars. They don't have to enroll, but they have to register so that we have all their all their information about, allergies and emergency contacts and that sort of thing. And any student who is on an IEP, whose parents choose to homeschool, they are still entitled to receive those services.
Great, thank you.
Good, thank you very much.
Okay?
Thank you.
School handbooks.
Hello, thank you for inviting us to speak to our school handbooks. Last year was an interesting year, to say the least, and we didn't make any handbook changes last year. So we kept our handbook as is, with the exception of the COVID safety protocols addendum that we added to our handbook. This year, we decided to really just look at what policies we are doing differently for this school year as we re-enter back to what is now our new normal. And then, just so you know, I am forming a committee this year. Mrs. Vassal and I are forming a committee this year made up of our school council members, students, and staff to really look at our current high school handbook, which it hasn't really been revamped in many, many years. I inherited this handbook from Dr. Bucky and John Lucchini, so it really needs to be looked at. Some of the policies are outdated. We have things in there like rollerblades, and some kids don't even know what they are. Some of the Mass General laws that are referred to have been updated. The helmet is one example of those. And really, most importantly, looking at implicit bias and making sure that in our school handbook, our policies reflect the school culture that we're trying to build at Nantucket High School, and that there isn't implicit bias built into some of these policies that really haven't been thoroughly reviewed in many, many years. So that's the work we'll be doing this school year. So here tonight, I'm here to speak about 4 of the policies that we've adjusted for this school year until we do this major overhaul. And as Dr. Hallett referred to at the start of this meeting, bicycles in particular are e-bike rules and regulations, and motorized bicycles, that has been updated. There is a section that I'll need to adjust because it does refer to the Mass General Law from 1994, and that has been updated in that students 16 years and under must wear a helmet, not 13 years or under, so I will update that. I did add that we must walk bikes and scooters on all NPS school campuses. That's always been the law, to walk bikes on sidewalks, but really we want students walking bikes, regular bikes or e-bikes, on school property, as we have lots of pedestrians and lots of cars coming and going. So that is just good practice. Then I added, specifically for the high school, this the information I added is part of the contract that students will sign if they register their e-bike or motorized bike with me. To date, I have 6 students who have registered an e-bike or motorized bike with me. I have these little stickers that they put on their bike indicating their registration number and that they have gone through the proper channel to register their bike. So they have to sign that contract to say that they will handle that bike appropriately when on school property. The next policy is simply our computer policy, and the only thing I changed to that was took out the language that said students are able to use their personal devices. We are now a one-to-one school for grades 9 through 12, and so that's new for this school year, so I just took out language that refers to our seniors being able to use their own devices. That's the only thing I changed. I'll save the best for last, but the tardiness policy, I made some adjustments this year. Last year, we were very lax with our tardiness and attendance policies. As you know, our main goal was the social and emotional well-being of our students and really trying to get them to participate in school in whatever means necessary, whether that was in person or remote or a combination of the two. So this year, we're really re-implementing and in some cases reinventing systems to allow our students to attend school as much as possible. So our tardy policy has always been 1 to 3 tardies per quarter were allowed, no consequences. So kids get 3 what we call freebies per quarter. I have adjusted that for quarter 1 to 6 because we're really trying to get kids to start coming to school and to build plans for arriving to school on time. So students really became accustomed to coming to school after the start of school. And I would see them as I was coming to school, starting to wander from different places to come to school. So we're really encouraging students to work out plans, whether they're being driven to school, walk to school, ride their bike, take the bus, to get up earlier. And that's really about retraining our kids about being here on time and timeliness and the importance of being to school on time and the importance, the respect that shows their teachers when they arrive to school on time. We don't have a student support center at the high school this year just due to staffing, so I took out the lunch detentions because I don't have anyone to supervise that. But students who then receive 7 or more tardies, 7 to 12 tardies, they will serve a tardy detention. That, the teacher rotates through tardy detention, so I have a tardy detention schedule. And the role of that supervising teacher for that week, it's Monday through Thursday, there's no tardy detention on Friday, is to have conversations with students about timeliness and the importance of timeliness and to really talk with students and have conversations about what it is that's delaying them coming to school and how we maybe can best support them in getting to school on time. Parents are also notified at that point because I want parents to know that their students are not arriving to school on time. In some cases, parents do know that, and there are reasons that the parents are aware of, and in some cases, they send their kids out the door at a reasonable time and are not aware that they're not arriving to school on time. So I like to bring parents into the loop in the conversation so that we can problem solve together. After 12 tardies, in our school policy, we're talking about in-school suspensions, and we never like to get to that point because anytime we're excluding kids from in-class instruction is never a good thing. So we have lots of steps in between there to have conversation and to develop plans so that students aren't to that point. There are very few students right now that are at that point, and rarely are they students that don't have an extenuating circumstance that is preventing them from getting to school. So, for example, in past years, some of our students that had chronic tardies were students with other social emotional issues or outlying problems that were above and beyond what a typical student might be facing that was preventing them from getting to school on time. So we want to work with families. For some students, we are simply glad they're coming, and so we really need to have lots of conversation about that because we don't want to deter students from coming to school. For some kids, it's all they can do to get here, and we have to work around that. Sometimes that's a schedule change so that their first block class is a study skills so they're not missing math and English and things like that. Hats and hoods. In full transparency, I was one of those people who really thought hats and hoods is a good policy, and it's respectful to take your hat off inside of a school building. And it was a little bit old school thinking and traditional, and I spent well over 20 years fighting on that hill in the middle school and then at the high school, asking kids to take off hats and hoods. But COVID changed us in a big way. And we really decided, or had to decide, what is most important in a school setting? What is really contributing to student success and detracting from student success? And is it hats and hoods? So in looking at student social emotional well-being, which really is what I always consider anytime I'm looking at implementing a policy and or removing a policy, is what is best for our kids. And our kids have spoken, and they've been speaking for years, and our staff spoke several years ago, and I brought this to school committee, and it was voted down. That was pre-COVID. Lots has happened since then. So our staff and students, when we listen to their voice is advocating that they be allowed to wear hats and hoods in school. And again, I wavered. I went back and forth. Is this a good idea? What will this mean for them? We lived last year as a trial period. Kids wore hats and hoods last year. We decided that if we're making them wear masks and we're asking them to come to school as they are to learn in whatever way they can, we weren't going to fight the hats and hoods. So they had a trial year, in a sense. It was a good social experiment. And nothing tragic happened. In that students wore hats and hoods, not all of them. There's maybe about 15, I'll exaggerate and say 20% of our kids that wear hats and hoods. Kids, when I ask, why are we wearing hats and hoods? Tell me your reasons. Speak to me about that. They say, it makes me feel safer. I like wearing my hood. It makes me feel safer. I like wearing my hat. Different kids will say, my hair's atrocious. It's one less thing I have to worry about if I can put my hat on. And I talk to teachers about it. Tell me about hats and hoods. What are your concerns? What does it look like in your classrooms? And so teachers said, really they haven't noticed a difference, many of them have said. Some teachers say, in my classroom, you have to take your hat and hood off in here. It's just part of my classroom management system, and kids are doing that. So I think kids are feeling like, because I can wear my hat and hood in school, when asked to take my hat and hood off, I'm more likely to do that. So whenever I have students in my office and I'm having conversations, I might say to them, would you mind moving your hood or your hat? I just want to see your face. And they do that, so they don't give me any pushback, which is very different than pre-COVID times, which is when every day in the hallway, all day long, I'm saying, take your hat off, take your hood off, take your hat off, and the same kid, for the third time, I'm saying, now I have to take your hat, and you can see the look in their face. So it's one less thing that I'm battling them over. And I had to ask myself, is this a hill that we want to stand on? Is this something that's detrimental to their learning if they wear their hats and hoods? And in fact, what the kids are saying is, I'm much more comfortable in school if I'm allowed to do so. And many kids say, I never wore a hat, so it doesn't bother me one way or the other. So we changed our school policy to say that hats and hoods may be worn within the school buildings unless directed by a staff member to be removed during a class session, meeting, or a conversation. And we left it at that. And kids have been respectful. I have taken one hat this year, and that was a student who had a Mount Gay hat on, and I asked them to remove it, and they did so. And then later that day, they had it back on, and I said, I'm just gonna hold on to that. I'm a great hat babysitter. I'll take very good care of it. You can pick it up at $2.20, and there was no argument. So obviously, our hats would follow the same dress code policy in that it can't have weapons or alcohol or inappropriate symbols on it for the most part. I haven't run into any of those problems but that one. So, or hate speech, yes, of course.
Ricky?
Yes, through the chair. I have one question. I think I went through CPS, and when I walked through with Mrs. Lombardi, and when I asked her how was the hat and the hood thing, and you said, as you said, there's other battles to fight.
Mm-hmm.
But my only question to you is, it should be consistent school-wide.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as much as I love and respect all the teachers, it should be the same in every class. Just because my English teacher says, well, you don't have to wear your hat, but my French teacher says, you need to wear your hat. They need some consistency in that building, whether they wear it or they don't.
Right. I
You know,
appreciate that point.
It shouldn't be distinguished between
Yeah.
9th and 10th grade. If you're gonna let them wear the hats, and everyone wears the hat, you're not gonna let them do it, let them do it. But the teacher
Right.
shouldn't, they're gonna get confused by that.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
And I appreciate your perspective, and I thank you for sharing that. What we've noticed from the kids is they're not getting confused, and we like to empower our teachers and provide them some agency to set up classroom management systems that best suit them their instructional strategies. So kids navigate pretty easily whose class they can wear a hat in and whose they can't, and then the teachers remind them, this is a no hat classroom. And the kids are saying, we figure it out, we know which teachers. So I appreciate your concern, and it is always a
Well,
factor
trust
to
me, my
make sure
son's
we're
a
being
hat and
clear.
hood guy all day
Yeah.
long,
Yeah,
because he has that nappy hair. But thank you very much.
thank you.
I don't have anything to say.
Ms.
No
Mullins?
questions. I have one, just a clarification question,
Sure.
if I may. So, Jen, it says, tardiness, 1 through 6, no consequences, and then it says students arriving at school unexcused tardy past 7:59 will not be allowed to participate. That doesn't mean, but if you're tardy 1 through 6, you don't have to.
Well, I do take into so that's a really good point. I do take into consideration excused tardies, so I don't count them. So when I'm looking at a total number of tardies, I look to see if there's excused tardies. We have some students with medical issues in the morning, it's difficult for them, and so I always take that into consideration on a case-by-case basis. So if it's an excused tardy, I don't count it. So it's the unexcused tardy, and maybe I need to just specify unexcused.
And if it's your one, if I arrive and I'm late, and it's my first tardy, I would not be able to participate in sports that afternoon.
If you were after 7:59.
Okay.
So despite the number of tardies, we have a rule that says in order to participate in after-school activities, that might be sports, it might be the play, it might be an after-school club, you're not allowed to participate after 7:59.
Thank you.
Colleen?
Yeah.
No.
Yes, unless it's excused.
Up to the chair. So, taking into consideration, how many kids on grades 9 through 12 take buses?
I don't know the answer to
So
that.
if they can't get to school on time, they're coming down Bartlett Road on a rainy day, and it's 8:01, they're not allowed to participate in that sport.
If
If
they,
they're-
I'm sorry, because they came late the bus was late?
No,
or
I'm
because
saying,
traffic?
since they have access to transportation,
Yes, I see what you're saying.
so if their parents have to give them
Yeah.
to work and they have multiple children, they have to go to NIS, CPS, NHS, and it's 8:13.
Yeah.
But since we have no transportation with a lack of bus drivers,
Sure.
is that student still not eligible to be in the play that day?
So that's where conversations are really, really important. So I always like to understand the whys and what is going on for kids and what's the circumstances. So I ask lots and lots and lots of questions around that so that I make sure that when I'm consequencing students, I have all the information I need to make the decision that's best for that student. And the consequence always is in the best interest of the student, and that I'm trying to modify that behavior and support the student in learning how to make good decisions. So that's all taken into consideration.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Yes, so that's a good question. Thank you for bringing that up.
I'm a bit of a mossback, but I don't think there's sun in all of the classrooms, so I'm not sure you need to wear a hat.
Yeah.
And I think wearing a hat is sort of a sign of disrespect. And I think wearing a hood is a sign of disrespect, because I don't think it's snowing or raining in the classrooms. So, I mean, I'm a mossback, and I understand I don't have to deal with the problems that come up, but I will register my concern about this, because I think you don't wear a hat in church, unless you're a woman. So, I mean, I'm not sure that we're encouraging a lack of respect for it. But that's my opinion, and it's from the 40s.
I
May I-
appreciate it.
May I, through the chair?
Sure.
When this discussion was brought to me by Ms. Sardellas, Mrs. Vassal, and the middle school as well, I brought this question to my coaching table with my superintendent group, and there are superintendents from Brockton, Bedford, Waltham, Brookline, Milton, Walpole, and Groton Dunstable. And all of them are now allowing hoods and hats. All of them are now allowing, because it is, again, a battle. A lot of it has to do also with social and emotional learning, social and emotional situations, feelings of belongingness, being able to feel content. So interestingly enough, I came in not sure what I would hear, and my coach, who you also met, who is quite distinguished and has a lot of experience, also said the same thing. I'm really surprised to hear what they're all saying. I'm not sure, but, and he said, wow, I was not expecting that. But today, we are seeing more and more districts that are allowing this to happen. And so I do want to offer my support to that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi there. We're just gonna really thank Jen Sardellis for going first, because she just did a beautiful job of paving the way for our CPS handbook amendments and changes. And we're gonna keep it pretty short, I would say. We last year, I would say, worked really hard as Mr. Horton joined CPS in trying to better align our handbook because it hadn't really been looked at in quite some time. So trying to better align it with the high schools in more of a appropriate progressive manner. And so this year in looking at, and we worked with our school council members and our staff, and this year we really just tackled the three topics that you've all heard already about. So the first one is the bicycles. The actual e-bikes don't necessarily pertain to us by law, as the majority of our students are under age. For us and our staff and our message to all of our bikers is really just walk your bike. And we're trying to really reinforce that anytime we're on campus and we see students, and really empowering our teachers to challenge, have those conversations with students, even if it's after hours, even if it's on Saturdays at a game or anything, just kind of making the message clear that we're just really concerned about the safety of our campus. And so please walk your bike. And really, for the most part, everyone's been really respectful and acknowledges that. So really just all bicycles are to be walked on school property, and then with some examples is our bicycle update, and then the e-bike language specifically, as I don't believe that we have that in there. To the hats and hoods and the dress code piece, we kind of actually had this gradual discussion starting from last year, and to Rocky's point, that's exactly what we were struggling with. Is in middle school, it was a little harder for students to know, is it okay in this class, or is it not okay, or because Mrs. Malu allows it, Mrs. Lombardi has a harder time bringing that hammer down. And so we talked a lot with our students and how they felt, and a couple of teachers really brought up some great perspectives. I was also of the mindset of it's respectful, and we're not quite in church in our school buildings, but still we want to set a tone. And a lot of our teachers kind of brought up a really good point of I need to have a better why when I'm telling students, because just because that's always been the way it just doesn't feel strong enough or relatable to some of our students. So we had similar testimonies and conversations with our students about feeling safe and comfortable. Middle school is a roller coaster anyway, and taking that kind of out of the everyday stress of and battle, I guess, with teachers and following kids down the hall. This is the third time I've talked to you about this hat. It's been kind of a game changer this year. So last year we tried it where I believe it was just in the hallways, specifically with our masks and our kids wearing hats. That was tricky sometimes to identify. So we asked that hats and hoods be off in the halls. And this year, especially around the social emotional learning, piece and just where everyone was feeling comfortable coming back into the building. We tried the start of our school year just implementing no policy in terms of hats and hoods and allowing it. And it's been really successful. We probably have a similar percentage, maybe 15% of students are opting to wear a hat and a hood. Not really both, but
No, it's usually one or the other.
yeah.
And I think what was interesting was at our staff meetings last year, when we talked about it, we did somewhat of an unofficial self-study and people were bringing articles. And to Dr. Leopard, to speak to your point about the weather, one of the things we learned was that it was actually you take it off because you're bringing dirt inside, and whereas our hats and hoods are not really, kids aren't like horseback riding on the way to school and kicking up dust or in the elements, that was maybe not a strong enough why, but also some of the basis when we look at our vision statement and our core values and shifting to be equitable, the roots of that are not necessarily equitable to all cultural backgrounds. So it was our experiment last year to kind of be more welcoming and equitable to different kids from different cultures and ethnicities.
And our last one is the tardiness. I think even pre-COVID, our district has kind of struggled with absenteeism and tardies. And certainly a bus situation doesn't help, but it was really hard to hold kids accountable last year, and it almost sent a real tough message, like we can't really do much if they're coming in or not coming in. And so again, not quite in line with the high school, more of kind of an appropriate progression towards high school. We have trimesters, so it is a little bit differently, but 10 times after a 10th unexcused tardy, a student will serve a office detention. Now, prior to the 10th, the 5th, the 7th, there are phone calls, again, conversations happening. It's not just like, it's your 10th, time to come in for an office detention. We're working with families, again, understanding the why. The why, what we're often finding is the student is here and they're just not getting their buns into the building. They're just kind of loitering and lingering at the last possible second to come into school. So we are working also with families, knowing that, you know, if it's your 10th day today, we might not necessarily expect the office detention to be served that day. So that's something where Mr. Horton, myself, or Mrs. Malu will call family, talk to them, and then they will coordinate the day when that will be served, specifically because of transportation. We don't have a late bus or anything. After each additional 5, there would be a second office detention, and again, we're more likely to call parents in and really just get a better understanding of what's happening, how we can help support them. You know, a lot of times it might be as we're finding some school anxiety or just parents struggling and needing a little bit more wraparound service that we can kind of connect families to. And then again, a reset at the end of each trimester, so. Any questions?
Catherine?
I don't have any.
Rocky?
Yes, through the chair. Where are they lingering?
Well, I think what happens is middle schoolers start to get a little freedom, so they might get dropped off or they might bike, and they might meet their friends and maybe get a snack at Cumbies before they come back to campus.
So they drop at the school and go down to Cumbies?
Yeah.
There's a lovely
Not going with
shortcut
the business.
path through the football field that I've started to.
What's that?
There's a lovely shortcut path to Cumbies through the football field that I've patrolled a few times.
Wow.
So usually once that information is shared with families, again, those conversations are really important. It usually doesn't happen to.
I was just curious, like they're lingering like on the
No.
campus somewhere?
No,
Like,
no,
what are
no.
they, just sitting outside?
No, they're exploring freedom
Yeah.
that they didn't
Okay.
have at NES and
In
NIS.
middle school,
Yeah.
she's a tough one.
Yeah.
Laura?
No, thank you.
Paula?
No, thank you. No questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello. Well, this should be really easy now after this.
They did all the heavy lifting.
They did. So our handbook, I think you have the draft, with all of the changes in it, and then the top page is just noting where the changes were from last year's handbook. So throughout the handbook, we had a lot of our COVID protocols and rules around safety throughout the handbook, and a lot of that has been removed, and we just have the addendum protocols in the back. Clearly, we've changed the mission, vision, and core values. We've changed some of the names of our school committee and their election dates. We've had some administrative staff, and we've made those changes. We have a new library teacher who is only a .7, not a full-time teacher, so we do have a request for volunteers for the library, specifically in our volunteer section. On pages 10 and 11, we made some minor edits to arrival and dismissal. We changed it dramatically last year due to COVID, and some of the changes we've stuck with. And some things we've been able to ease up on, like standing 6 feet apart. We've removed the requirement for the flu vaccine, which they gave us last year and then took away in the spring. We also have just removed the banning of head coverings that we had last year to be in alignment with the other schools. On page 36, we are no longer allowing e-bikes on the NIS campus. I don't think we have any 16-year-olds, so nobody should be allowed to have them. And reminders to walk bikes and scooters on sidewalks, which our kids are doing a great job of doing. We changed our lunch times and prices, since lunch is free this year. And we made some changes to the way that we celebrate birthdays. We don't want junk food and sweets coming in for birthdays. As a result of the BMIs of Americans and promoting a healthy lifestyle and the equity around those types of big sweet festivals. And I think that's about all we changed this year.
Okay.
I had a question about the changes to birthday treats. So
Yeah.
students aren't allowed to like bring cupcakes anymore into classes?
Not cupcakes, but what they can do, there's some ideas in there. They can donate a book to the classroom. They can make cards or paint shells. They can do something to celebrate their birthday. We just don't know that it always has to be the big Stop and Shop full of frosting cupcakes, because when we look at that through a year, that could be 20 times during the year that that's taking up class time, and we're just continuing to put sugar and not so great food in our kids. So we want to still celebrate them because they're important, it's their day, but just in a healthier way.
Is this system gonna go throughout all of the schools, like high school and
Feeling like thunder, girl.
like because like I know in high school they still allow it because I've seen kids bring in cupcakes.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, is that gonna be a thing in high school too, or I don't know.
I don't know.
I think we defer to Dr.
Yes,
Howard.
through the chair.
So,
Are they allowed to bring in like a fruit platter or a veggie platter?
Yeah, well, see, we don't want tons of sharing of food anyway, so we
Okay.
want it right now individual, but fruit is healthy, so they could do that.
Boy.
I would need to look and speak with the other schools to make sure that there was a similar clause in their handbooks.
Mhm.
I do promote healthy eating, and the more we can continue to promote that within our schools, that's
Mhm.
really important. There are many opportunities for children to have parties outside of school and to have sweets at home, and we want to promote healthy eating and a healthier lifestyle as we can while we're in school.
If I may, through the chair, I do have a question. E-bikes on NIS campus, does that apply to parents?
Or teachers?
I don't know that I don't know.
if it would apply to parents. I
They
mean,
would have to walk it on
Yeah.
campus, the same as.
anybody else.
Yeah.
That was my question.
Okay. I guess I was asking because I've seen a particular parent with a hoverboard dropping off their children. So I didn't know if that would apply to that, to the parent dropping off the child.
I think they've been asked to like take it slower, and they've been, we have, I think between the two schools, we've tried to just personally address that parent about just being mindful of all the children and adults around, coming in at a slower clip perhaps.
Okay.
No?
That was it.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
No questions. No, thank you.
I think the birthday thing is really, that is one battle I'm not sure I'd want to get involved in. I mean, it makes the hat issue look pretty small. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm going to excuse Ms. Kubish because since my lovely friends have done such a great job, I'm going to be moments, especially with the first pitch about to, come into play. We had very minimal changes. They were very similar to the other schools with names and updates and things like that. The two things that I think we sort of have shared that were changes that were not critical, but something that we wanted you to know about are, we've aligned our bikes with all other people. We've aligned our headgear language. But for us, on page 22 for promotion and retention, we've just added in a line that shares that parents will come in and do a signature with us in a conference. We typically, in a retention situation, will have parents come in and chat with them and let them know where their students are at, if there's a suspicion that we may need to hold their child back. And there's a process. But this year, especially after going through last year's sort of understanding of schooling and knowing where kids were specifically in kindergarten, we did feel that parents may not have either remembered or not have given us a full commitment that we were going to retain their child. So now we would just like that commitment of a signature on a page that our counselors have found between parent and school, should that be a suggested thought. And then, Ms. Martinez, you stole my thunder. I felt like I had something at least to say. Our only issue with motorized vehicles is ironically with a few parents, and that's been addressed, but not typically with children. Just kidding. Any questions?
I do have one question,
Yeah.
Kim, not to bring up the birthday cupcakes.
Mhm.
Are you all allowing that too?
We have it in our handbook, but we do not specifically say no sugar. We say, please bring in individually wrapped and healthy choices and or activities.
Thank you.
Esmeralda?
No questions.
Pauline?
Just one, when you've got your removal of extended, breakfast buddies on page 25,
Mhm.
what was that? So is there no,
So it's not happening this year, and it didn't happen last year, unfortunately. And so we did put a little clause in for Ms. Nichols in case something should come back. We certainly would bring it back, but it is not happening right now.
it's
If I,
really unfortunate.
if I
No.
may, it's really COVID related. It doesn't have to do with the fact that we don't, we want to exclude it. It's very simply the fewer people coming into our building. And also, we have to make sure we have supervision for breakfast buddies, so that if there are children there having breakfast in a different location, they have that adult supervision. So it's temporary. Our hope is that we will return to having breakfast buddies hopefully next year.
So am I understanding, so the students that could use the breakfast in the morning, that's still, okay, so
Oh,
that's
yes.
still
Breakfast is,
available?
yes, breakfast is available to all
I
students
see.
in
Okay.
the morning.
But they're just not in the congregation?
If
Yes,
I
it's a
may,
grab
we
and
do
go.
it as a grab and go, and
Yep.
I think all schools do that.
Doing it
And
in
so
their
it's available in the
classrooms, yep.
cafeteria, and the teachers are well aware, should we find a student who is in need of breakfast, then they go get it. But most students who need that certainly walk right by the cafeteria, grab their breakfast, and
Yeah.
head to the classroom. It's been really helpful. That was a silver lining out of our COVID protocols last year for arrival and dismissal. Students are now lining up on lines and in areas of their spaces outside, and so parents are not coming in. So that transition factor has been eliminated for parents in the building, and that's been helpful, but that also has eliminated our volunteers and helpers in the morning too for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Rocky?
Yes, through the chair. I hate to circle back about the whole birthday thing, but
You're both
working
above.
in NES today, when I saw two little princess girls wearing "It's my birthday" little hats. How about, it doesn't have to be a sweet, it just has to be a treat. They want to bring something. So if the teacher, let's say NES or NAS says, you know what, hey mom, Sandra's birthday's coming up. Instead of bringing in cupcakes or bringing in an activity, it just makes that one individual, whether it be male or female, feel special, because it makes their day special in their room, and they'll be able to gift something.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be cupcakes.
Mhm.
It could be like, what the teacher needs. And the teacher can be sneaky about it, like, this is what I need in this classroom. Why can't we get 21 of those? But it makes that one child whose birthday it is, giving something to their peers that's gonna make them feel special.
Mhm.
Fair enough?
That is in ours.
Catherine?
Yeah, I just know that students love giving out cupcakes. It's so much fun.
Catherine likes cupcakes.
And I would say that Rocky, probably you benefited from cupcakes.
You judging?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, moving on to policy
Yes.
amendments, proposed amendments.
I will be happy to speak about these. I met with the policy subcommittee, and we went through around a half of our J policies. It's a large section, and the theme of the section, the J section, is students. So all of these policies pertain to student education, student instruction, equity, et cetera. So as we go through, I will share with you, these are all amended, which means small language changes, nothing large, so to speak. And so what you will see is in these documents, there is highlighted and red language that is added. Anything that was taken out was a strike through. So in policy JV, which is equitable education, equal education opportunities, the amendment is adding students who are pregnant or have pregnancy-related condition. So that language was added. And then support services was another piece of language that was added in the final piece. So we'll just go through these quickly. If you'd like to have any discussion, I'm happy to discuss each one, but if there are any questions. So again, language that was added in the next one, JFABD, is, you'll see that language in yellow and red, with red lettering. We added youth and unaccompanied youth and their families. This is for homeless students, enrollment rights and services. And then, and their families or legal guardians, so that is an addition. And then at the end of the paragraph, you will see some additional listings of programs that are included. Bilingual education, vocational and technical education programs, gifted and talented programs, and also summer programming and extracurricular activities. So that language is added there. JFABE is amended, and there are some strikes through, mostly language related. If you look at the, this is the policy on educational opportunities for military children. And as you look down the policy towards the end, you will notice that the district's responsibilities to eligible children include the following, and in the second bullet, simultaneously is struck through, and the language upon enrollment of an eligible student. So it's a little bit more specific. With simultaneously, it feels quite, as Ms. Gallagher-Burns mentioned, it seems like it's happening exactly at the same time, and that's it's a little bit more realistic that upon enrollment, the receiving school will request official records. The final bullet on this page, you will also see that the district will assume financial and programmatic responsibility for the special education programs of students with existing IEPs drafted in other states. So that is added, and the language right before it was struck. So again, small pieces there. JFABF, which is Educational Opportunities for Children in Foster Care, is also amended, and there is one line at the end of the second paragraph that adds additional services to other services to which they may be entitled. So just adding more detail to that. The last side, or the second side of that, on page 2, the last paragraph is added under the section Immediate Enrollment. And that says, if the student does not have immediate access to immunization records, the student shall be permitted to enroll under a personal exception. Students and families should be encouraged to obtain current immunizations as soon as possible, and the district liaison is directed to assist. Emergency contact information is required at the time of enrollment, consistent with the district policies, including compliance with the state's address confidentiality program when necessary. And I just noticed a typo, which we'll fix. So that's just additional language that came directly from the MASC policy that was updated. So, any questions or need to discuss? Please interrupt if you feel you'd like to.
I have a question.
Sure.
Isn't homeless students have the same thing? Don't they?
They should.
In terms of the immunization issue.
They should, yes. McKinney-Vento, yes. The next policy, JFBB, which is school choice. Again, a small amendment in the last number, which is the school committee affirms its position that it shall not discriminate in the admission of any child on the basis of, and then a long list. And we added pregnancy or pregnancy-related condition to that. So that is the small amendment to that policy. JH is even smaller. You will notice under student absence notification program that each principal, and the language by whatever title they may be known, we changed that to each principal or designee. So that's the same for 2 paragraphs. And I believe that is the only thing other than numbers on the other side. If you look on page 2, this is actually important because it is a change within the Massachusetts policy. Dropout prevention. So I will read this paragraph. A student who has not graduated from high school shall not be considered permanently removed from school unless the principal has sent notice to the student and that student's parent guardian who has been absent from school for 10 consecutive days, changed from 15. Of unexcused absence. So that number has changed, and that is an important noticing there. Also the number in the final sentence. The time frame may be extended at the request of the parent guardian, and no extension shall exceed 14 days, previously 15 days. So those are the changes. And those numbers came directly from the MASC change. Yes, exactly. So JIC is our final policy of the evening, and this is student discipline. So we are adding a paragraph right before this section on suspension, and again, this came right from the MASC updated policy. The superintendent shall provide each principal with a copy of regulations promulgated by DZ, and shall have each principal sign a document acknowledging receipt thereof, which shall be placed in their personal file. So, and I noticed another typo.
Did you get that? The typo?
I did, thank you. And then throughout the document, we added, as was recommended from the Massachusetts, the mask policy, was to add guardian after every mention of parent. So you will see that throughout the document, parent/guardian is added. So all of the rest of the document is the same, so there's no change. So I'm happy to open up to any questions, or if there's anything in particular that people would like to ask.
Pregnancy conditions.
I
don't know
either. Could be, yes, could be.
If I may, through the chair.
Sure.
I just want to say, seeing that pregnancy was added to all this makes me very happy, because I was once a student in this high school pregnant. And I was very fortunate. I did not receive any discrimination, any issues, but this just makes me very happy and content.
That's great.
Good.
Yep.
So now, we will bring this back up at the next meeting
Yes.
for a
Yes.
vote.
Vote to approve any amendments will be at the next meeting.
Okay, committee discussion and votes to be taken. First is a vote to approve the NPS substitute daily rate for teachers and teaching assistants fiscal year '22 at $150. I thought that there was a
We had to
differential.
move the vote to the, that was a discussion only. We weren't permitted to vote at
No.
the same time.
But I thought that there was a difference between teachers and teaching assistants.
Yes, that is true. So we would
Yeah,
have
it
to
should be
amend that vote.
130. Yeah,
Okay.
teachers got, I'm sorry,
No.
No,
sorry, Logan. Through the chair, there was a difference between the teachers and the TAs.
Right.
So that's an error on the
150 or
agenda.
130 or something, right? Remember?
130 for
TAs?
TAs and 150 for,
That was in your email, I think, that, those numbers.
it's in our notes from the last time,
no,
Okay.
which I can tell
So
you
we
right
can
now.
amend that, can't we?
we can amend that. So we will amend that to include teaching assistants at $130 a day.
So
Can I-
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve the amended,
Make a motion to approve the amended.
to approve the amended NPS substitute daily rate change?
Yes, sir.
Can I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Yep, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A vote to approve Stop and Shop donation for NES in the amount of $1,939.64.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Take it.
The September 21st, 2021 meeting minutes, a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
You didn't find anything to
I
correct? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Transfers and invoices,
Boy.
motion to
Yep,
approve?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Catherine, you're up. Or Subcommittee, you guys on the policy committee have been meeting. Anything else going on?
Through the chair, you and I need to still get together on the diversity committee.
Okay.
Is that to you, Dr. Hallett?
We can set that
I
up.
mean, it's October 6th tomorrow. We'd like to get it rolling before November 6th.
Okay, so then I'll
Okay.
put out an invitation for the
Is
committee.
it the three of us?
Yes.
Okay. Do we need, Esmeralda, would you like to have someone from the school involved in that as well, a student?
That'd be great.
I mean, don't you think we should have someone
Some feedback. Yeah.
from the students as well on that? I mean, what do you think?
If I may, I would love to have an initial meeting. This
Okay.
is a new committee that had, I believe, unless I am mistaken, but this is a new committee, and I would like to be able to have some
Fair enough.
planning to start
enough.
before we move forward and having invitations for students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Catherine?
So I just wanted to apologize because I became aware of the fact that I kind of spoke a little too softly in the previous meeting, so I'm trying to speak up now, and I hope that everyone can hear me now.
Huh?
So that's good. Because someone informed me that I was speaking too quietly, so I'm trying to speak up. And Picture Day just happened on Thursday, September 30th. A lot of students can get their school IDs because I was aware that we didn't get them last year. So school IDs in for the yearbook. And we had a planned environmental walkout last Friday, October 1st. It was planned out by the environmental club, and the students in the club worked very hard to plan the walkout. A lot of students participated to listen to the speeches they made about why environmental and climate change is so important to our society. So I think it was really good. And I participated, and I think that awareness should be promoted more about this subject. And we have student newsletters, so Rocky's in the student council newsletter. We also have a volunteering newsletter. So if anyone wants to be emailed and notified about the newsletters we have, I can give it to Miss Bartlett for you. And the volunteering newsletter is a new newsletter that we have, and it can inform students about places where they can volunteer, which is very good because I know a lot of students don't know like good places where they can get their 20 hours of volunteering service to
20?
yeah, 20 hours to graduate high school. So, and that's pretty good. There's actually a 4-day weekend coming up. I just wanted to mention it.
4 days, wait a minute. You got Friday too?
If I may, it's 4 days for students, but
Yeah.
not for
Oh.
staff.
It's gonna say
Unfortunately.
Well, that's why no one can work this weekend.
Yeah. It also. Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's off topic though.
No, that's fine. You can-
I was just curious, does the pay
Public.com.
change for the subs go up immediately tomorrow or not till the next pay period?
No.
Through the chair, yes, it does.
Tomorrow?
It's immediately effective, yes.
Okay.
And I also wanted to make a correction from the last meeting as well because I said that homecoming was going to be the 25th to the 31st, and Mrs. Martinez told me that that was wrong because the 31st is Halloween, so that's not homecoming. So it's 25th to the 30th, but as I said last time, we're having doorway decorations, and that's going to happen on the 21st. And then the judging is going to occur between the 25th to the 28th for the doorway decorations that we're going to do. And on the 28th, that's when the doorways are going to get taken down, and that's when the hallway decorations are going to get put out. And, I also forgot to mention that the doorway decoration theme is going to be decades, which was voted by the students in our school, which I'm excited about. And the hallway decorations are going to be chosen by each class. And Powder Puff is also the 28th on Thursday. So Thursday, homecoming is going to be very busy. And yeah.
Do the lower schools ever get to walk up and look at your decorations?
Not that I've known of. I feel like they would love it though because each year they're
My kids will like it.
fabulous. Yes. I don't know if that could happen, but I think that would be great for them to see that. So, and we're also having Spirit Week during the week of homecoming. So Monday is going to be Decades Day, which is funny. Tuesday is going to be Red Ribbon Day. So on Tuesday, the students should wear red to help support the prevention of drug use and bullying within our schools. So we're having that. And Wednesday is going to be like Comfy Cozy Day or like PJ Day, which is probably the students' favorite day, in my opinion. And Thursday we're having Color War. So that's when the seniors wear black, the juniors are going to wear white, sophomores are wearing pink, and freshmen are wearing green. So just to represent your class. And Friday is Whaler Pride Day because Saturday is floats. Yeah, the floats. So Whaler Pride Day is always Friday on homecoming. And yeah, that's all I have to report.
And what happens Saturday?
The floats, the float parade.
Is there a football game?
9 games. Not just football, Dr. Leffery.
Is there,
No,
are
but-
there any sports or what's going on? How come there's no navy blue in there somewhere?
Okay, thank you very much, Kathy.
Great job.
If I may, through the chair, I'd just like to follow up on one thing that Catherine talked about, and that was the student walkout that they did last Friday.
Yeah.
I wanted to commend our students, the committee that planned that. I think they did a great job. They spent quite a bit of time making those plans, and they were passionate about this cause, and they did all the planning on their own. They also respected our teachers' request that we defer this a week so the teachers could be prepared for it and be able to support it as it should be. So I just wanted to commend our students for a great job.
Great job.
Beth, do you want to talk about the next meeting?
Sure. In our next meeting, we will be hearing an EL update around access. I will say that might change because our access scores that arrive, our student growth, our student growth doesn't come out, or it may not be coming out in time. So we may shift that and make some adjustments. But That said, we will hopefully do that on the 19th. That may change. First quarter budget update, we will vote in our J policies, and then we will talk about MAP and MCAS, because our MCAS has been released, and parent reports will be going out no later than this Friday. We'll also take a look at the preliminary 2022-23 school calendar. There is a possibility that we'll include a CBTE presentation. That's still to be determined.
And that's an acronym for what?
Sorry, for Career Vocational and Technical Education, which is through our high school program.
Has anybody got anything else to say?
If I may, through the chair, I will be attending the Cape Cod Collaborative Board meeting on October 13th in person, so I'll be discussing that when I return, yeah. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Plenty of time, Dr. Lecter.
Got it on the budget. Good job. Let me hang it.
No.